Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Juliana, and today, as well, it has been a long time since I did a book haul. So I gathered some books that I bought throughout the last months. You know, with me, this is not like recent arrivals or anything. This is a gathering of several months, so that's how I roll. And today I'm going to show you 10 books that, as I was saying, I bought gradually during these few months. Some of them are English editions and some of them are Portuguese editions, but when they are Portuguese editions I will leave you the cover in the screen so you to see, and also, as always, I will leave the titles and the authors referenced down in the box description for you to have a more easily access to a title that interests you, perhaps. So yeah, let's go. So first off, I'm going to start with On Photography by Susan Sontag. So this is an essays book, and I was eyeing on it for a very long time. I have read other books by Susan Sontag and I like them a lot. This is an author that she mostly wrote non-fiction, so like essays most of the time. She also has fiction work, but some say it's not as good as her non-fiction, but that's subjective as in anything. So in the back it says that On Photography is a conjunction of texts in which Sontag examines a series of aesthetic and moral questions raised up by the presence and by the power of the photograph image in our lives. Work of reference in the discussion about the place in which photography occupies between experience and reality. Oh, when this book was prestiged by the prize National Book Critics Circle. So I'm very curious to pick this one up. I'm planning, if I'm not mistaken, I think I put this book in my to be read for next year. I think. I don't think it is this. Whatever. This will be read. So there you go. Next up we have The Foundation Pit by Andrei Platonov. So this is a dystopic novel that portrays a group of workmen and local bureaucrats engaged in digging the foundation pit for what is to become a grand general building where all the town's inhabitants will live happily and in silence. I heard quite a bit about this book since 2020, when I started my reading journey. When I returned to my reading journey, I wanted this book for a very long time, and then I found an opportunity to buy it, and so I did. I find the premise very interesting. I love dystopias, and I think that this book will blow my mind. At least I'm hoping for that, so let's see. Next up we have Berlin Alexanderplatz by Alfred, Döblin. So this is a hardcover, as you can see. It's an oldie. This is secondhand. From what I gathered, the story concerns a murderer, Franz Biberkopf, fresh from prison. When his friend murders a prostitute on whom Biberkopf has been relying as an anchor, he realizes that he will be unable to extricate himself from the underworld into which he has sunk. He must deal with misery, lack of opportunities, crime, and the imminent ascendancy of Nazism. During his struggle to survive against all odds, life rewards him with an unexpected surprise, but his happiness does not last as the story continues. So this is a classic that I heard about more fairly recently, because prior to that I, for some reason, never came upon this title and this author. But after seeing some people talking about it and some synopses and some opinions about the book, I became very interested, and well, that's why it's here. Next up, we have Confessions of Felix Krull, Confidence Man, The Early Years, by Thomas Mann. So as you can see, I think I made a mistake, because as you can see, this edition is very old. And I know, sometimes I don't have that voice in my head to say stop, simply stop. I was so eager to buy this book and have an edition of this book that I think I trampled myself, because can you see? I don't mind older books, but it has to be a boundary somewhere. And well, I kind of trumped myself. Yes. I don't know, perhaps if I find a more recent edition of this book I buy it, who knows. But for now I have this one, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the last novel in which Thomas Mann was working on before his death. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, that this is an unfinished work. But this intrigued me, and well, that's why I bought it. And by what it says in here, because in the back it just has a blurb by Andrei. But for what it says in Goodreads, so this recounts the strange and entranced career of the gifted swindler Felix Krull through his childhood and early manhood. Krull is a man unhampered by moral precepts that govern the conduct of ordinary mortals, and his natural lack of scruple, coupled with his formidable mental and physical endowments, enables him to develop the arts of subterfuge and deception with astonishing success, and to rise swiftly from poverty to affluence. So then it says a lot more things, but I think this is enough. So don't you think that's intriguing? I find those type of stories quite fascinating, and dealing with the gray areas of human character, different kind of personalities, and very different from my own, so I find that quite interesting. So there you go. Next up, I have Death by Water by Kenzaburo Oe. This is, if I'm not mistaken, a Nobel Prize winner, this author. This is a Japanese author. And in this book, it will be talking about a writer. And I find it... I like it when books are being written by an author that his main character is also a writer. I find it quite curious, and I don't know, I find it fun. For what I gather, this author, or I'm talking about the character of the book, Kojito Shoko, is confronted with an history that seems to be incapable to write. The book that he put so much effort in to explore the turbulent relationship that he had with his father and the guilt that he continues to feel for not being present at the night that his dad drowned. How to write about a man that in truth he never knew. When a sister that he doesn't see in years unexpectedly contacts him, the solution seems to arrive. She has in her possession a mysterious box that can hide the secrets of the men that have disappeared from their lives. Intertwining the myth, history, and autobiography, Death by Water is a romance about memory, family, personal trauma, but also about trauma of a country at arms with the inheritance of defeat. Yes, so the author of this book, Kenzaburo Oe, was awarded with the Nobel Prize in 1994. This alter ego, Kojito Shoko, seems to be a recurrent character in his books. So the synopsis of this book intrigued me, but I first heard talking about this book, a Portuguese booktube channel. When I heard him talk about this book, I was quite intrigued, and then it came a promotion in my usual online library and I couldn't help myself, so I bought it. Next up we have the Charterhouse of Parma by Stendhal. So this is also a classic, and from Stendhal I have, how is it called? The Red and the Black. So I have that edition that I kind of now regret buying, but it was a, how do you say it? It was €1 each. It is divided in 2 volumes. It was €1 each, so it's not for the price that I paid, but it's for the quality of the editions in themselves that I'm indecisive if I'm going to read in those editions that I have, or if I'm going to buy a better edition with, you know, a preface, perhaps an epilogue, or a postface or something like that, you know, to have a more contextualized knowledge about the book in itself. I like it when books have prefaces or postfaces, so perhaps we shall see. But coming back, so the Charterhouse of Parma, this is a classic, and for what I heard, people or like this one and hate the Red and the Black, or love the Red and the Black and hate this one. So I thought, well, perhaps I buy the other one that I'm missing, so this one, and I read both of them, and then I see in which one I belong. So Stendhal narrates a young aristocrat's adventures in Napoleon's army and in the court of Parma, illuminating in the process the whole cloth of European history. So I think this is romance, or at least has romance in the mix. And we have a blurb here from Italo Calvino that he says that young people will feel a sudden passion for the first pages of the Charterhouse of Parma, convincing themselves immediately that this is, without a doubt, the most beautiful romance in the world, recognizing in it the romance that they always wanted to read, and that it will serve them as a stone in the touch for all that will read it after. Roughly, my translation is somewhat strange, but I hope I did a good job. So I'm quite intrigued, and yeah, we just have to wait for me to read it and bring my opinion to the channel. Next up we have Ice by Anna Kavan. So this is also a book that I was eyeing on it for a very long time, because I always, when people talk about this book, they say it's different, it's non-typical, story. The writing is quite, some say sometimes the writing is difficult to digest, and that triggered my curiosity, because sometimes you want to read for yourself to take an opinion on it. So that's what's happened to me, that's why I bought it. And just the title in itself also piqued my interest. And what it says: so in the world dominated by destruction, the war and the panic, a protagonist without a name wanders for a surreal landscape, but familiar, in demand of a strange young woman of silver hair. In this insistent and obsessive search, it goes through the sea, through the landscape, to the iced landscapes, to the ruins of sacked cities, fighting against time in a mission that has so much of real as imaginary, saving this girl of glass before the known world becomes a wall of ice. So this was published in 1967, a year before the death of the author. So ice is a precursor of a new genre in fiction that will be later identified in the works of authors like J.G. Ballard, Philip K. Dick, and Haruki Murakami. So I think this is a work that has value to be read and to be discovered. So there we go. Next up we have Illyrian Spring by Anne Bridge. So this is, again, I know you heard me talk about her so many times, but it doesn't tire me to talk about her, because I think she deserves it. I'm talking about Miranda Mills. She's a booktuber, and she talked about this book, and she said that I think it's one of her favorites. Yeah. And when she talked about the premise of this book, I was like, oh, really? You know, when you do a purchase and you don't want to pay shipping costs, so you add an item so you don't have to pay shipping costs. So that's what happens in here. I bought this on Amazon, and this book was that item that made shipping costs free. So, it wasn't my fault that I bought it. You know what I mean? So this book talks about Grace Kilmichael, the well-known painter, is running away. She's escaping her husband and his wandering eye, her bullying grown-up children, and the tiresomeness of being herself. En route to Sleep and Dubrovnik, Grace travels through Paris and Venice and to the glories of Torcello. Here she meets Nicholas, fascinating, rebellious, completely unsuitable. and half her age. Thrown into turmoil by their relationship, it is not until Grace arrives in the remote, unspoiled beauty of the Dalmatian coast, among the wildflowers and peaceful villages, that she can truly begin to find enlightenment. Both farcically funny and full of wisdom, this is a classic novel of escape and rediscovery set against the glorious Illyrian Spring. What do you think? Doesn't intrigue you? So I'm very anxious to pick this one up. Next up we have Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto or Banana Yoshimoto. I heard about this author in recent months, and for a coincidence, I suppose, I heard in almost sequentially two booktubers talk about this author in particular. And so I thought, is it worth it? So I took a chance and I bought a book. This one is Kitchen. It says here the international bestseller. So this is about two tales about mothers, transsexuality, bereavement, kitchens, love and tragedy. When it was first published in 1987, it won two of Japan's most prestigious literary prizes, remained at the top of the bestseller lists for over a year and sold millions of copies. Yoshimoto was hailed as the voice of young Japan by The Independent on Sunday. This new edition celebrates the 30th anniversary of a startling original work. So I think this is more like a family drama or something, from what I understand, and I enjoyed it. And it's, it talks about modern topics, modern subjects, I think. So I'm intrigued, and it's not too long, so I think it will be a quick read. And lastly, Hidden Figures by Margot Shetterly. So this, as you can see, has the cover of the movie that I adore. I simply fell in love with this movie. I love all the actresses that portrayed the main characters, and this is the kind of stories that I want to hear more about. So in the kind of subtitle it says The American Dream and the Untold Story of the Black Women Mathematicians Who Helped Win the Space Race. So before John Glenn orbited the Earth or Neil Armstrong walked on the Moon, a group of dedicated female mathematicians known as human computers use pencils, slide rules, and adding machines to calculate the numbers that would launch rockets and astronauts into space. Among these problem solvers were a group of exceptionally talented African American women. Originally math teachers in the South segregated public schools, these gifted professionals answered Uncle Sam's calling during the labor shortages of World War II. With no jobs at the fascinating high-energy world of the Langley Memorial Aeronautical Laboratory in Hampton, Virginia, they finally had a shot at jobs that would push their skills to the limits. Even as Virginia Jim Crow laws require them to be segregated from their white counterparts, the women of Langley All-Black West Computing Group helped America achieve one of the things it desired most: a decisive victory over the Soviet Union in the Cold War and complete domination of the heavens. Starting in World War II and moving through the Cold War, the Civil Rights Movement, and the space race, Hidden Figures follows the interwoven accounts of Dorothy Van Gogh, Mary Jackson, Katherine Johnson, and Christine Darden, four African-American women who participated in some of NASA's greatest successes. It chronicles their careers over nearly 3 decades as they faced challenges, forged alliances, and used their intellect to change their own lives and their country's future. So this is non-fiction, as you could understand, and this is talking about real people. Of course, I heard about the book because of the movie, so again, this is my testimony that cinema also brings awareness to perhaps more not known books. This was the case for me. I didn't know of the existence of this book until the movie came out, and the movie is Hidden Figures, so go watch it and read the book, you know. So there you go. This was my book haul. I hope you have enjoyed it. Let me know if you have read any of the books that I talk about in here, what you thought about them, if you have any advice for me or any comment on the books that I talked about. And yeah, I see you when I see you. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed already. Don't forget to press the ring bell button to all so you can receive all my notifications. Leave a like, it helps a lot of divulgation of the video and the divulgation of the channel. Follow me on Instagram and in all my socials that are linked down below in the box description. And yeah, I see you on the next one.